Olene, the heartbeat of humanity is calling you, and so is the heartbeat of the earth. I'm here today to ramble. For how long, I don't know. I can't always keep it short, though I wish I could. And I don't look at analytics, but I suspect that some of you, perhaps a good number of you, don't listen all the way through. It's just too long and it gets boring. Well, too bad for you. Some people miss out on all the fun. Today, right here, right now, there might be some fun in store. So let's see what happens. If I tell you about why I watch bikini hauls. Now I want to make a qualification at the start. I don't watch a lot of bikini hauls. I really don't. I don't do binge watching. I look at them occasionally. You know, once you look at one or two, they start to come up in suggestions in the feed, right? But I would say, I don't know, I might look at 2 or 3 in a month. And there are many that I don't look at. There are many examples to watch, but I can tell from the thumbnail or from 5 or 10 seconds if I don't want to watch one. And there are a good number of them that I find to be vulgar and silly, not at all to my liking. So I've selected a few, and I know a couple of names, but I don't watch them all the time. Watch them occasionally. Now, why would I do that? First of all, those of you who don't know what a bikini haul is, it's a video clip presented by a young woman or a little older woman, but never very old. Some of the women, I suspect, are maybe, barely legal. Emphasis on the word barely. So some of these creatures may be, 17, but they seem to be in their, late teens, early to mid-20s. It's hard to tell. And what you see on a video of a bikini haul is typically like this. It opens up, usually in her bedroom or in some room of her house, and she might come on screen carrying a couple of bags. She throws these paper bags on the bed, and then she sits down and excitedly begins to act out her performance. So she takes out of the bag different bikinis that she has bought, different forms of swimwear, or units of swimwear that have been sent to her by a manufacturer so that she can model them, and that promotes the sale of the bikini, of course. That's called a bikini haul. There are hundreds and hundreds of bikini hauls on the internet, on YouTube. Some of them come from the companies themselves, Wicked Weasel is the brand name of women's swimwear, and I think lingerie as well. And many of them are just young women. They have a channel. Some of them get millions of hits for their bikini haul. And obviously, I suppose, with monetization and so forth, they might even earn a living from doing this. So why do I, from time to time, watch bikini hauls? The answer to that question can get complicated. As you might have guessed, I am a rather complicated man. And there are various considerations that go into this habit of mine, if you want to call it that. It's not a habit, really. I'm not addicted to it. And I must add at the outset that it doesn't turn me on. I most certainly do not do it for sexual excitement. So why do I do it? Let's take a little roundabout angle to approach that question. Let me take a moment to compare a bikini haul to a porn clip. I've been reflecting on porn lately. Not that it interests me or that I watch it, which I don't. I have watched it in the past, in certain situations in my life. I don't think I watched porn ever until I was about 62 years old. And I had gone through a rocky affair, you could call it that. Romance on the rocks. It's a drink that I ordered many times in my life. And a rather young and stunning nubile woman dumped me. And I was so lonely for the intimate act of sex and affection and all of that touching that I decided to go to look at porn sort of out of nostalgia. At least I could see the act that was performed. I didn't know if I would ever have the opportunity to do that again. So it was kind of nostalgia, you could say. Now, I quickly learned something about porn. Actually, I ought to dedicate an entire talk to that, but I'll add it here, hopefully without going into a digression. You see, pornography, is an incorrect term. Porn, of course, is a vast genre on the internet now. You've heard the statistics. What is it? 65% or more of internet viewing is porn, right? Pretty spectacular. But when you look at the genre of porn, and I'll give it another name in a moment, you see hundreds of subgenres. So as I realized that was the case, I very quickly sorted out the genres that I watched and the genres that I never watched and never in 100 lifetimes would ever watch, even for a second. So I condemn porn, most of the genres of porn, clearly and openly. I find them disgusting, boring, degenerating, and it's a horrible phenomenon of our time, which has done tremendous damage to gender relationships, tremendous damage to the realm of human affections, natural human affections, as well as to the perception and enactment of sexual desire in itself. It has corrupted and ruined sexual desire in the lives of countless people. I know that. But there is a genre of porn that I did watch, but I wouldn't call it porn. What am I talking about? I'm talking about films, footage, videos of heterosexual performance. Now, as I sit here today talking to you, wherever you are listening, I can assure you that if you turn your head and you look around wherever you are, in your room, in an apartment, in a house in the country, and you look around and you scan the countryside, if you had a specific scanning tool, you would find, as you scanned like a radar in a full circle, that people are doing sex all over the place, all over the world right now by the millions. I say doing sex, not having sex. Sex is something that you do. It's not something that you have. If you stand in front of a waterfall and reach out and the water runs through your hands, you can't say that you have the waterfall, can you? So you don't have sex with someone. That's sloppy language. You do sex with someone. And I'm only interested in men and women who do sex. Although I've watched some lesbian clips, and they can be quite instructive for a man who wants to know and learn the skills of pleasing a woman. So there's an instructive or educative value in porn. And perhaps you didn't know this, but even on Pornhub, which is the largest and most notorious platform, there are actually people, couples, who present sex education videos. These are devoted people who love each other and who live together, and they film themselves and they explain how to have good sex like they have, you see? Now that's not porn. You know, pornography literally means the description, graphy, of whores. Well, most of pornography is not a filming of the behavior of whores. If you went around with a camera and took live footage of a call girl picking up men on the street, taking them back to a hotel, and you filmed all of that from soup to nuts, that would be pornography, a description of the behavior of prostitutes. But what I'm talking about should be called sexography. And essentially, fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with sexography. There's nothing inherently immoral or obscene or degenerative about films of people having healthy, normal sex. And some people like to film themselves. Now, I'm very camera shy. I have been since I was a child. There are very few photographs of me taken through my entire life today. There are very few photographs of me in the world, and I don't like being filmed, although I've done some video interviews recently. But sexography, the filming and watching of people having sex, is a form of sexual education, and sexual education is something the world really needs. It's part of human hygiene. It's essential to the social fabric that boys and girls in their teens and men and women later on know how to perform sexual acts in a skillful, respectful, tender way. No one ever showed me when I was 17 years old what to do with the first woman who offered herself to me. And it was an agony. For me, teenage sex was an agony, and I think it is for many teenagers. Not only because it was taboo in my time, and there was a lot of condemnation around it, but even more so because I had no idea what to do. I would have loved to have been shown what to do. So there's nothing essentially wrong in that. So you can say that a sliver of the millions of videos that you see in this genre of porn are simply straightforward films of heterosexual intimate behavior, which is going on all the time. So what's the difference between porn of that kind and the bikini hall? It's an interesting difference. I don't watch porn anymore. I don't have a nostalgic feeling for sexual encounters I had in the past, wondering if I'll ever have them again. I don't really care, and I don't need to be educated in how to perform. Obviously, those girls in the bikini hall vids are not entirely naked. If I want to see film of a naked woman, I can do that any time of the day or night. I'd rather see the real thing. And seeing a film of one doesn't replace the real thing in any way, for me at least. So the bikini hall is a different kind of phenomenon. It's not at all, it does not have the hygienic and educational aspect that some good, clean porn can have. There is clean porn. Do you know there is a category on Pornhub of amateur porn? It's like sexual home movies. It's inconceivable to me that I would film myself with a woman and then put it out to the world. That's just my nature. But there are some people who do that, and they do it in a sincere way, and they enjoy it. I'm not condemning them, and I'm not condoning them, but I'm saying that it's real, and they're real. And they're not prostitutes, either him or her, and they're not profiting over what they do. But in a bikini hall, of course, the girl is there on her own. She's not doing sex with anybody. So what is she doing? Well, that's why I watch bikini halls. Not out of sexual excitement or for sexual excitement, but I do it because I'm curious about what she's doing. I'm curious about her mannerisms and the way she behaves, how she displays herself, how she turns her body, turns her head, flicks her hair around, the expressions in her eyes, the expressions that go over her face when she poses in one way and poses in another way. I'm really curious about that. It brings up some interesting questions for me. So you could say that I make a study when I watch a bikini hall. Let's see if I can tell you how I conduct this study, the observations that I'm making as a detached observer. One of the first things I know is that the girl tries on a bikini. There are hundreds of different styles. But let's take, say, the smallest, itsy bitsy, teeny weeny polka dot bikini, as the song used to go. Let's take, for example, the skimpiest string bikini. Well, the first observation I make is, why wear anything at all if you're going to wear that? The way some of these are cut, the way they come down very, very low, makes you wonder, why wear anything at all? And so sometimes when I'm watching these girls posturing and posing, I think, how would it look if they didn't have anything on? Well, it wouldn't look very different than it looks when they're modeling bikinis. But of course, even though we live in Kali Yuga, in a time when human sexuality has degenerated into a cesspit, thanks to our benevolent handlers, the righteous third party, even in this time, there's a social boundary. So a young girl could not do what she does in a bikini hall, stand there in front of her bed, make those gestures and expressions totally naked. No, she has to go to another platform. She has to go to the pornography channels to do that. My first observation is that that in itself is something unhealthy. Now, I can remember when I first came to Europe, and I was 17, and I was wandering around Europe before I took off for parts unknown, and I had this notion about Scandinavia, and Swedish girls, and Norwegian girls, and Danish girls. And it came through the literature of the 60s. I was a veteran of that generation, the sexual revolution, and I am a sexual revolutionary at heart. And I thought, oh, wow, what is this about these cultures up there? I've heard that they have a very natural attitude toward nudity. And I've heard that while in America we've got Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler, which were being thrown in our face at that time, a massive onslaught of skin mags. While we have all that, apparently they have like nature outings. They have books that show photographs of naked people just being natural with each other, not doing sex. And I thought, I would love to meet a young girl who is natural and unself-conscious with her nudity. And I long for that. And I felt at that time, instinctively, my sexual instinct told me that this is something important. It's as important as breathing or eating, you see. But the paradox is, if you want to call it a paradox, that as the wave of sewage, of pornographic degeneration, which is not just in porn, it's in women's magazines, promoted in women's magazines in an atrocious and obscene way. When you see that huge wave breaking over us, spewing the sewage in our faces, at the same time, there's still this taboo. Oh, you can't look at a naked woman or a naked man just being natural, because that's porn. And we're going to relegate natural, healthy, honest sexuality and the display of the body in that way, we're going to relegate it to porn and dump it over there with all that other trash. See, there's something fundamentally wrong here. Anyway, when you look at these bikini hall babes, when I look at them, I often say, hey, why are you wearing anything at all? It leaves nothing to the imagination. Yeah, it's kind of tempting because, well, you think, you're there, you're there, you're there, you're almost there, but not quite there, you see? You're only really there when it's all off, right? So I'm thinking about this. Are you following my train of thought? And as I said, this for me is an exercise of curiosity. It's a study. So let me tell you some other observations that come out of this study. one of the observations that got me interested in watching bikini hauls goes like this. I thought, all right, here's a 10-minute clip. She's trying on 4 different types of bikinis, standing back, moving around, coming forward to the camera, showing you different angles, throwing her hair around, making up different faces, particularly as she gives you the shot of the royal buns and that deep crack and that line of a woman's back, one of the greatest works of art of the goddess herself, the line of a woman's back going down to the crack. And she looks back at you over her shoulder. She makes up a face. What kind of face is that? Why is she making up that face? Where does that come from? And I thought, suppose that I was in a situation with a spade. Okay? This is not a fantasy, by the way, because I really don't care. I only go where I'm invited. And if I'm not invited, I'm quite happy to be on my own. So just suppose that I happen to be in that bedroom sitting in a chair. And there she is. She's ready to do a bikini haul. But she doesn't. She actually strips all the way down. She's standing in front of me. She doesn't have a stitch on her. And what does she do? How does she behave? If there were a real man with her in that room, a man that she invited in, who allowed her to feel comfortable and safe, of course, in what she was doing. Let's say they had even had an agreement that he would just watch her, that there was not going to be any sexual engagement. So they had an agreement. The man kept to his part of the agreement. She strips down to the raw facts. Then would she behave in the same way in that situation as she behaves in the posing and posturing and making up faces in a bikini haul? Would she behave that same way in a private and intimate setting with a man? And if she did, what on earth would she be doing? Now I'm going to refer to porn again for a minute, because there are some clips of amateur porn which are filmed by a couple, and this particular type of sexography shows you the woman, the girl, stripping for her boyfriend. And the boyfriend films it. But hold on a minute. Is that the only time she strips for her boyfriend? Strips off her blouse, dances, moves around, does these lovely, enticing movements with her body? Maybe there's music, maybe she's dancing to Joe Cocker. You can keep your hat on. If she does this and displays this behavior before her boyfriend when he's filming her, don't you think that she must do the same thing when she's not being filmed? Well, if she doesn't, there's something wrong with that relationship, you see. But if she does that freely and openly, displaying her sexual beauty, her face and her figure for her boyfriend or her partner without being filmed, then it's healthy, as things should be. It's a beautiful act of affection for a woman to do that for her man. you see. But now cut back to the scene in the bedroom of the bikini hall. Go look at one. Show you the woman in the thumbnail. She's a 10. And if she were in a natural situation of intimacy, would she behave in that way? Are the movements and the gestures that you see in these videos just modeling techniques? Is that all they are? They're things that a girl learns from the school of modeling, right? So she's modeling a bikini, but she's not modeling her body itself as she would in the previous situation I just described. And by the way, there are many situations like that. And I'm happy to tell you that is so. And it's really good for the sexual life of our societies that happens between young men and young women today, and even older. And if it happens to get filmed, and they have a particular attitude, which certainly I don't have, where they want to share it and show it to the world, so what? You don't have to watch it if you don't want to, but what you're seeing is not corrupt. It's not obscene. It's natural. It's respectful. So I'm looking at these gestures, poses, the way she turns her body, maybe leans forward, steps away, throws her hair from one side to another, and at the same time, those expressions on her face, the look in her eyes, what is that? Is that something that she learned to do? Is it acting? And if I was in the other situation of that man with her, on the agreement of watching for the pleasure of watching, on the agreement of no sexual engagement, would I enjoy that acting? No, I would not enjoy that acting. It's not like the girl who agrees with her boyfriend that he will film the strip dance that she does for him to please him and to show him that she likes him or loves him. It's not like that. So, am I making a big deal out of something here? The answer is obviously those are conventional movements that she learns from the school of modeling, right? You see the same thing in a catwalk. I hate catwalks, by the way. They are obscene. I will not watch a catwalk. But when you watch catwalk, you know that they all behave in the same way. They come walking towards you with the model's walk that they learned, which is 1 foot in front of the other. Then they come down to the end of the catwalk. They turn around. They do some silly gesture. They do hip shot. You know what that is? Hip shot is completely obscene. I hate it. It's disgusting. And if you observe the ones that I have seen anyway, the very few I watch, the girls modeling bikinis don't do hip shot. Occasionally they might, but then again, begs the question, what is this behavior? What is this performance? What am I watching? And I go deeper into the question. I'll take you a little bit deeper as I bring this talk around to its conclusion. Let's say it is just posturing. But why does the girl modeling the bikini think that that kind of posturing, which is typical and predictable, makes the bikini attractive? Why couldn't she put on a bikini and just act naturally? Why not? So here I go deeper into the psyche of that particular woman. Tiana Musarra, is that her name? And I look at her really carefully. I look at all women really carefully. Inch by inch. And I've seen the female body. And all female bodies are the same, but they're also different. Different in detail. So the spectacle of the female body is nothing new to me. And I wonder how that model, that girl, actually feels about her body. How would she behave in a real life intimate encounter? If she's capable of standing up there and doing all this phony modeling styles and looks and flipping her hair back and looking over her shoulder, sometimes with a sullen expression, sometimes what appears to be a sullen expression, sometimes pouting, sometimes with a laugh, a twinkle in her eye. What is she doing? And is she capable in real life of not doing that? Is she capable in real life of natural sexual response? That's the question I ask. Or is any woman capable of natural sexual response? The answer is hardly any in this time. You know, it could be said, maybe I'll bring this up when I talk about pornography, if I do, that I was on a quest in my life. Basically, it was a mystical quest, as everybody knows who's ever had the patience to listen to me or read what I write. So primarily, I was on a mystical quest, but within that mystical quest, I was on a sexual quest. So a quest is a journey to find a treasure. It's like a treasure hunt. I was on a sexual treasure hunt. And what's the treasure? The treasure is the pleasure. The treasure is partaking of that beauty of woman combined with that woman. You see? Beauty of woman is like a fact of nature. And there are many kinds of beauty. And cosmetic or popular beauty is a dubious category at best. Now, I've had a few tens. I've done a few tens, and they've done me. And I've also appreciated, and if I may speak extravagantly, adored and loved other women as well who wouldn't be considered to be pretty in that way or beautiful in that way, as most of these bikini models are, you'll have to admit it. Some of them are ugly and ugh. But the point I'm making is, take a pretty woman. She's just pretty. She may even appear to be plain. But there's a beauty there in that woman. And she offers the beauty that really is her beauty through the pleasure and beauty of her body. That's the treasure. A sexual quest is the same for everyone. The object and satisfaction of that quest is the same for everyone, man and woman. It's the quest for an honest fuck, which is one of the rarest phenomena on this planet. And goddess blessings upon you if you can find it. I've done actresses, and I've done waitresses, and I prefer waitresses. You see, there's so much corruption and delusion in the minds of these girls who do bikini hauls about what their sexuality really is and how to handle it in a sane and honest way, that I'd venture to guess, well, I'll put it in another way, I would not by any means, not by a long shot, assume that, what's her name, Tiana Musarra, can deliver an honest fuck. She's got the equipment, she's got top gear. But can she ride all the way to the end of the cliff and over and be there with a man? I don't know. I would say it would not be wise to assume that she can. Because any woman who would display herself with all that phony posturing and pouting, even if it's merely to sell bikinis and get money from your internet channel, such a woman is likely to be fundamentally disabled and dysfunctional in her basic sexuality. And somewhere her relationship to her own sexuality is quite likely to be distorted. At the very least, she's betraying the genuineness of her own sexual beauty. She's betraying the charm and attraction of her face and her figure, which came to her at no cost. She did not earn it. It's a gift of the goddess. Sure, she's responsible for maintaining herself, for maintaining her body and eating well and taking care of herself. She's responsible for the care of the equipment, but the equipment comes free. And this is the essential problem with all women, which takes an exaggerated form with those women who show the appearance of being a 10 or of being noticeably beautiful in the popular sense. There's an inherent problem how a woman relates to her sexual beauty can be problematical. And that is a problem that cannot be solved in the absence of a man who knows how to appreciate and respect that beauty and handle it properly. Handle it with care and skill. So, those are some of my observations. I wonder if such a woman modeling a bikini is able to drop that phony behavior in a real life situation and get to the hard, sweet, melting core of what it is all about. You see? I can tell you from long and sometimes troubled experience that the waitress puts out better than the actress. See my point? So I don't lust after these bikini babes, and I don't get the slightest lift from watching them. But I enjoy it from time to time. By doing so, my mind goes back to these questions and these considerations, which I've had all my life, as I said, since I was a teenager, and I wondered about those Scandinavian girls who didn't behave like the teenage girls I grew up with, who were troubled and unnatural and awkward about their sexuality, and who didn't know how to offer themselves, who didn't know how to just sit around naked with a naked boy and laugh and enjoy each other, free of any kind of compulsion to do anything about it. And then if you do something with it, then that's also free. You know, sex is hygiene. That's what it is. Sex is hygiene. And the art of sex comes in a balance. In the balance between the beauty of the two participants, because men have natural beauty too, and they also have their kind of sexual allure, heterosexual men. It's the balance between the beauty that is there, given by nature. Human body is an exquisitely beautiful creation. It's a projection of the dreaming of the Mother Goddess. And the true pleasure that comes through those bodies is also her pleasure. It's as if genuine, honest sexual pleasure is like an offering to her. It's as if those two bodies emit incense. The sexual act is an altar, and the incense of that altar, the incense of pleasure, goes to the Mother Goddess. She feels joy in the play of her children. All the laws of the Goddess, insofar as she has laws, although it's not really correct to speak in that way, but they are all aesthetic laws. The streaming waterfall, the glacier, the willow tree in the wind, flight of sparrows, they're all beautiful. They are productions of aesthetic laws. That's why they look beautiful, you see. My interest in bikini halls is based on this type of observation which I'm sharing with you. And I can't say that what I see there I find beautiful. I don't find anything on film really beautiful. Would I find it beautiful in real life? Well, if you've followed my observations so far, you can see that I might or I might not. But there's no assurance that I would. So these observations all go to the same question. The question of beauty and how to own it and how to express it. Enough said. And I'll be seeing you in the beauty to come.